Let me say this about Rose, and just before we say this, Rose, we have a surprise for you. We have some special people here that's in the audience. Would you stand? Rose English is, I was told that, okay, somebody, is
that us? That us?
There's Alicia.
No, Sandra.
Sandra, I'm sorry, with the mask. Alex, my man, and Jonathan here representing Rose's family. Thank y'all so much for being here. So what do you say about Rose? What do you say about the person who became the chief financial officer here at the Bible Way Church of Atlas Road? It is always difficult to recognize someone's accomplishments because you never say enough, and you can't ever say enough. But the great thing, one of the greatest sayings is that our work speaks for us. And Rose English's work speaks for her 26 years of dedicated service here at the Bible Way Church of Atlas Road. Phenomenal integrity, character, all the things you could ask for in a chief financial person. One of the great assets, again, as I said about Mac, I'll say about Rose, is that I never ever had to worry about the integrity of our funds at Bible Way. And I've talked to enough pastors who have not had that luxury. I've talked to pastors that have said to me that they stayed up sleepless nights because they found out they could not trust the people in their business office. That has never, ever been the case from Mother Mazalie Lord to Rose English to the next generation of those who will succeed Rose. Anything you've asked her to do, she's done. We have gone down the road together. We can see all the wonderful things that we've had. No one knows how often Rose and I talk. And Rose gets to see a side of me that I try not to convey to the general congregation, Marlon, and that's the stress, worried side about how we're going to make ends meet. How in the middle of a pandemic can we go all year and not cut anybody's pay? What can we do to make sure that every employee at Bible Way has a living wage? How can we pay off buildings? How can we, in the same year, I give her a task and say we want to give more money to churches in 2020 than we've ever given before, although we've taken less money in. Those are the kind of challenges that she's had to oversee, and it hasn't been easy. For those of you who work with Rose, you sometimes don't understand how the juggling goes. And I will tell you, there have been months we literally juggled. We've called the bank and says, can we send the mortgage payment in 10 days later so that we'll make sure our staff gets paid, and wait on an offering from Sunday. God has blessed us to even now have a little reserve. We haven't always had that, as Deacon Marlon and Rose can tell you. There have been days that we have watched the weather report together and prayed that the weather is not so bad on Sunday that we cannot have church, because we were literally surviving week to week. There have been other times that and not once in 26 years has the staff pay been late, delayed, or not paid. Let me say that again. Not once in 26 years. Not only was it ever that you did not get paid, but not once has it ever been late or delayed. We did everything possible. Some things you would never know the personal sacrifices. That is because of integrity of somebody like a Rose English. And I will forever be indebted, grateful to her for her phenomenal service to the kingdom. I'll close with this. One of the conversations I remember having with my dear friend, Pastor Clemente Pinckney, who's not here now because of the Charleston massacre. We were sitting in the Senate in the middle of a filibuster, in the middle of a night. It had been 1 o'clock in the morning. And he and I decided, while they're talking politics, let us talk church. And he was asking me about putting the business together. It was an AME pastor that traditionally got moved. Well, he had just been assigned to Mother Emanuel, iconic church in Charleston. And he said to me, how do you handle the business part? He and I agreed the preaching is easy and therapeutic, okay? But what keeps him up at night and us is the business part. And he says, Darrell, how do you handle the business part? I said, you don't, but you find somebody, first of all, who's saved. Say that again, somebody who's saved with integrity, with a love for ministry and a love for people, and you allow them to be used by God. And he says, you have that person? I says, I do. And he said to me, my prayer is that I will find that kind of person at the Mother Emanuel Church. Thank you, Rose. Thank you so much. I guess I won't be calling you on Monday morning. Say, what are the bills we got to pay for this week? I won't be harassing you about how much we took up on Sunday, and when is the mortgage due, and the insurance due. And you deserve this break. You deserve a time in which you can enjoy your life. So, special tribute to Rose, and I think we got some other tributes here. This is from us, Deacon Marlon Waters, if you would come. And let me let Marlon say a few words on behalf of the board, and then I'll make the presentation. Let me just say, Marlon is now the vice chair of the board. He's taken Chip's place. And we could not be any more fortunate or blessed that God has had somebody right here raised up at this altar in this church than Marlon. And so he will represent the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Pastor. First of all, thank you guys for allowing me to crash your party. This is my first time being here, so I appreciate that. But really quick, I just, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of you who are employees of the church and all the sacrifices you make. I know it's not easy because it's not easy for us as ministry volunteers. So I can only imagine what it is for an employee, but I thank you guys for having the patience, having the willingness to not just treat this as a job, but to still treat it as service unto the kingdom. So I thank you guys for that. And on behalf of the board, Rose, I've said my thank yous to you personally, but I want to say that you served through trial and hardship. And that's one of the things that really stands out to me about your service to the ministry. I don't know very many people who could have endured the things you have endured and still showed up to work with the same zeal. So I say thank you for that. Your retirement is well deserved. And I just want to say thank you for every dollar you've tracked, for every bill you paid, every loan you've acquired and paid off, but most importantly, for every moment that you shared your presence with the ministry along with your gifts and talents. So thank you.
Thank you, Marlon. And so on behalf of Bible Way Church, and we do have 25 years, and we know it's now 26, but we can work on correcting this so you know we all know what the real number is. It says, honoring Roseanne English for 26 years of exemplary service as the financial officer of the Bible Way Church of Atlas Road, presented on December 11th, 2020. Would everyone join me and give God a hand of praise for such a phenomenal.
part of the ministry and to work full-time for the last 26 years. Thank God for our pastor, Pastor Willie Mae, for their leadership. I thank the staff for we've really been a team. It's not just been myself, but it's been a team effort. But I thank God so much for allowing me to work here and to just be a part of such a great ministry. Not only do I work here, but this is my church. I hope I have made some valuable contributions to the ministry, but I just want you to know the ministry has really been here for me. And anytime there has been a need in my life, I can certainly say the Pastor Willie Mae, and all of you have been my support. I know you've prayed for me, and I can actually feel the prayers of the saints, because sometimes when you go through hardships in life, you can't pray for yourself. But when you work with people who can get a prayer through and who love you, then you're able to make it through. And I thank God for it. Coming back to work has been therapeutic for me as well. It gave me something to do. So people have asked me, well, what will you do now that you don't have to go to work? Well, for the first 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months, I don't plan to do anything. We can't travel, we can't do anything really, fun things right now. But after the pandemic is over, I will go and visit Alicia in Texas. I will definitely go and visit Bessie in West Virginia. And Jonathan and Alicia, happy birthday, Jonathan. We will be going on another cruise, I'm sure. So we enjoyed ourselves last year. But I want to say that I love all of you. I've enjoyed working with you. And I pray that my staff I know they will continue to do a fantastic job. And I often remember what Bishop Jackson said. If you think you're so important, if you think you can't, things can't go on without you, just stick your hand in that bucket of water, take it out and see the hole that it leaves. So I'm confident that things will go on with excellence, and I'm sure that God will be pleased. And that's been the most important thing in my life. I want to hear God say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. Sometimes people, we don't always hear our name called finance, but we want to hear God say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. So I ask that you continue to keep me in your prayers. It's a little bittersweet, mixed emotions. I'm ready to retire, and I wanted to leave on my own volition. I didn't want to be asked to leave, but I wanted to leave when I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave when I was still able to get around and do things. And I wanted to leave when the mortgage was burned. And that has happened, so that's my time to exit. So I thank God for that. I thought about it this week. I was here when this building was built. I was here when the Family Life Center was built. And I was here when the Worship Center was built. And if anyone knows construction, those are some tedious times. But I thank God that He gave us all the strength to walk through those programs and get the job done. When we built this building, I think we only borrowed $70,000 or $80,000, and we had a hard time getting that. When we built the Worship Center, the loan was like $7 million, so it was a big, big jump. But God has blessed us to pay off the mortgage, and I'm just so glad that I can leave knowing that that has been done. So keep me in your prayers, in Jesus' name. Amen.